what was your childhood like? What was your experience like? Where did you grow up? What did people tell you when you were small? Do you remember being told to be quiet when adults were speaking? Were you allowed and encouraged to speak up and speak out? Or were you encouraged to speak up too much? And so you just have developed this very loud and uncontrollable volume. In other words, there are some people who just talk too loud and they don't know how to modulate, they don't know how to lower their tone. And it's that kind of challenge that people face. And so it's to recognize, yeah, my journey started not when I became a professional and I recognized these problems. It started many, many years ago.
Hello, my friends. I'm so excited this week to bring you my friend Daya Ottley. We had connected on LinkedIn and I was just astounded by his content. And I don't usually say that. The reason why is because he teaches small business owners and particularly women how to really own their voice, whether it's on camera, whether it's on stage. And it just captivated me the way that he presents this material. So I'm really excited to have him here. Daya is a Trinidad based voice communication expert with a successful career in voice communication training, audio production, and voiceover acting. His voice has been enlisted in big brand ads, including Mercedes-Benz, Burger King, Toyota, and Coca-Cola, just to name a few. And today he brings his 2 decades of experience to small businesses as a creator and lead trainer of a developmental voice communication business called Vocalize, an interactive program designed to teach individuals to effectively use their voice. Welcome, Daya. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Emmy. I was kind of thinking, who is that? Am I on the right show? Is it me she's talking about?
Yeah, well, you
Thank you.
create
Thank you.
amazing
Awesome.
videos. And I think one of the things that I love about your unique perspective is you teach things in a way that's so doable. And especially when we're putting ourselves out on video, I know for myself, when I first started, I would just freeze on camera. I wouldn't even like
Yeah.
fumble over my words. So, in your experience working with your clients, what do you think is the main roadblock to people really being able to use their voice effectively?
This it's in one word. It's a four-letter word. It's called fear. And that's the main thing, Emmy. The roadblock is really fear, but the thing is, most people are not aware that it's fear that they have. They would use so many different words to describe it. Well, I'm not comfortable. I don't like the sound of my voice, and I've never been taught this or that. Why haven't you been taught something? I don't know, but it really is chalked up to fear, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, yeah. Fear is a huge aspect, especially when it comes to first starting out with visibility. So, for somebody like that who wants to effectively use their voice, they want to be showing up more, and they're ready to tackle some of their fears. How would you say that they get started? Like, because when they're on the inside, they just think that they suck in general, right? So,
Exactly,
how
yeah.
would you kind of move them to that first point to really get them moving?
I think the first idea is self-realization and self-awareness, because for so many people it's firstly starting to recognize, wait a minute, and admitting, I have these problems, I have these challenges. And I think with anything as human beings that we have a challenge with, we need to first reach a place of admittance. I have a problem with this. So I think the first thing is, yes, I am afraid of speaking in front of an audience. And for the most part, when people talk to me and they reach out, they say, you know what, I'm terrified with this. They can identify it, but they would not say necessarily that their main problem is fear. They would list a whole bunch of things. And so what I would usually do is kind of take people on a little journey and start them when they were very small and sort of examine, well, what was your childhood like? What was your experience like? Where did you grow up? What did people tell you when you were small? Do you remember being told to be quiet when adults were speaking? Were you allowed and encouraged to speak up and speak out? Or were you encouraged to speak up too much? And so you just have developed this very loud and uncontrollable volume. In other words, there are some people who just talk too loud and they don't know how to modulate, they don't know how to lower their tone. And it's that kind of challenge that people face. And so it's to recognize, yeah, my journey started not when I became a professional and I recognized these problems. It started many years ago. If you're in some little small town or big city or wherever it was you grew up, and that's where I point people back to and have them to recognize, so it's not really your fault. It's circumstances, it's life that shaped you. And Emmy, the thing that I've discovered is that people's experience, what they've been exposed to, that's the thing that really challenges their ability to be confident, to face the camera. For whatever reason, is something embedded in their psyche or and that they're not even aware of. And a lot of times my clients have recognized, yeah, you're right. I know there are some issues here and there and there. So that's the starting point.
Yeah, I love that. And I too have a similar philosophy where, we don't just procrastinate because we procrastinate,
Yes.
or we don't not show up even though we say we want to. There's
Mhm.
often something deeper beneath the surface that needs attention, that needs to be addressed. But the interesting thing is when there is that fear, it impacts our physical body. And
Mhm.
so sometimes even our tone doesn't even sound the same when we're on video as opposed to when we're talking in real life. Can you speak to that aspect a bit about like controlling your tone, or can you even control your tone?
Yeah, I mean, you can control your tone, and it's connected to recognizing that our emotions are so connected to our tone. And to control your tone means to control your emotions. So I'm sure for you, you've had this experience. You wake up a morning and just answer your phone, and someone knows you just woke up. And sometimes we try to say, no, 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 I'm fine. I've been up a while now, but you're lying on your bed. You just don't want people to think that at 11 o'clock in the day, you're still sleeping. But people can hear it in your voice. It's so obvious. You can't hide that. And if you are a little down and experiencing a really rough day and you answer the phone, we will try and muster up everything. Hello. But people who know you would ask you, what's wrong? Is everything okay? "Ah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm great." But we don't recognize that people are hearing the sadness, or if you're upset, they get that through your tone. And so the important thing is to first recognize I have these emotions. So as a voiceover actor, the thing that you have to learn when you're going to record an ad and you play it back, and I'm sure you do videos, I'm sure you've had this experience. You think you've gotten everything, you have all the energy up, even if you had a really challenging day, then when you play it back, it's like my voice sounds tired. I can hear the stress and tension in my voice right here when I did this. I need to do it over. And it's only until we actually play that back, we hear it, but we are absolutely certain and sure that our voice is sounding great. That's in our mind. So if we start off by recognizing I am feeling a little flustered out of that conversation or just from the day, I would usually tell people just settle yourself. Take a deep breath, breathe in a few times, breathe out, and just recognize that either you are sad and you need to push that aside for the moment, or you're upset. And any actor, just generally, actors will tell you that once you have to step on the stage and perform, you have to put aside everything and get into the moment of the actor and give it your best. And it's the same thing when we have a presentation to make or some kind of delivery. the reality is that you have to put aside that, but recognize first that this can affect my delivery. That whatever happened or is happening to me right now, I need to put that aside and I need to step into this. If I have a presentation to make it or to conduct a session on Zoom, for example, I need to recognize, well, apart from equipment and miking and making sure that that's working well, I need to bring my energy. My posture has to be okay. But I have to recognize I had a bad day. I'm a little flustered. I need to settle myself. I always tell people never dive into anything you have to do while experiencing some extreme emotion. Always settle yourself, take a deep breath, and then shift your focus and your mind from the thing and dive into be very present. Be present with whatever you have to deal with right now. You can get back to that emotion after, but press pause and give your all. And you notice that your tone changes when you do that. Your tone is then, and then of course you apply all the tools you know about modulation and intonation. When you're highly focused on delivering the best to your audience, your tone is adjusted.
Yeah. I love that. And it's so important because just like you said, our viewers, our audience, our boss, everybody is
Yeah.
reading into the tone of our voice, sometimes even more so than the actual words that we're speaking. I know when I first started on video, I felt like my voice was extremely monotone. And so I decided to try something and go the other extreme end and really bump up my energy and start to talk like this, which didn't work out so well.
You
But
end up sounding like a Disney character or something like that.
right. But I think what it taught me was how to play with that range. Because in my
Yeah,
ordinary day to day life, I'd only experienced this much range. Um,
right.
but to actually try something different, at least then, okay, that doesn't work, but maybe I bring it down just a little bit and somewhere in the middle could
Right.
be my sweet spot. Do you have tips like that for people who might really not like their voice and how they can actually adjust it?
Well, interestingly enough, I do encourage people to own their own voice because a lot of people come with, I hate how I sound. And that's the biggest thing. People come and say, you know what, I play back a message or I listen and I hate my voice. And the first thing is acceptance. For the most part, because people do not like the sound of their voice, it produces other things in them that would cause their communication to be affected. And that would be because of being shy, because they don't want to speak up. So that confidence to speak up, then that is affected. But there are many effective people, successful people, who may not necessarily have a really smooth voice or tone, but because there's such confidence, you don't even recognize they have a squeaky high voice or they talk like that. But it doesn't matter, whatever it is with them, they are able to be clear in their communication. They remove their filler words. They are confident. And so I won't really focus on how the sound of people's voice. Again, it goes back to own that. Don't try and change it. Don't hate it. Love it. If it's squeaky, if it's too deep, everybody, the beauty of us having different tones and voices, everyone has a different tone. That's a gift. So I would tell people own it. What you have to learn is the skill of modulation and the skill of intonation and removing your fear so that filler words don't step in when you have to deliver and the r's, because that would hinder the communication message. But certainly, Emmy, no, don't try to change your voice. Love it. So record yourself. Those people, and I'm speaking to those who hate to hear your voice recorded, then record yourself several times over and over and over. Play it back so that you get comfortable with it. But certainly embrace it and know that marketing and advertising sells us that you have to have this smooth sound to have a good voice. It's similar to fashion that everyone that can wear clothes has to have this slender figure, and that's a lie. So it's the same thing with a voice. It's just a matter of learning how to use it. And there's there's clothing to fit every voice. So I would say that's how people should see themselves.
Yeah, yeah. And you also mentioned the filler words, right? I
Yes.
mean, I know I still have a bad habit of saying so on
Yeah.
occasion. I've gotten a lot better at it, but
Mhm.
sometimes it still just pops up. I think it must be just training and practice that gets rid of
Yeah.
filler words. And like, can you speak to that? Or do you have any tips on when people find themselves constantly saying ums and ahs? Are there ways that they can move through that?
Absolutely. It's an acronym that I tell everyone. It's called GAS, and it's supposed to give you the fuel to speak fluently. And GAS stands for gather, arrange, speak. As a media, having media experience and being on the radio, I always tell my clients when you're on the radio, and I'm talking about like talk radio, not music radio, where you don't really have to think. You just this is 101 FM, and that's it. It's like there's not much, but I'm talking about talk radio when you have to talk about a topic or whatever, and you open that microphone and there's no music beneath you to get you to ride, and you're just pumping and you just have to say two words because those are like mic men. That's different from polished radio or like podcasting or live podcasting or vlogging or whatever. It's where you have to think about what you want to say before you say it, so you gather those thoughts. It's like just taking every thought you have and putting it together, and it's just like brainstorming. What am I going to talk about? And you gather that, and then you have to arrange it. It's like, okay, what am I going to talk about first? What am I going to talk about second, and then third? So I say, think about it like a ladder. It's like rungs of a ladder: first, second, third, and see that in your mind. And think about what I'm going to talk about first. What am I going to tell Emmy first about being able to speak without filler words? So I can see it in my mind and I'm in visualizing these steps. And then you just begin to talk on the first point, and then you go down to the second rung and then the third rung. And I train people to hold their thoughts together like that and speak and just flow and talk on a point. And I challenge them with a timer and say, inside of this, you're not allowed to have a filler word, not one. So if you get 10, you're going to go down for 8, and then 7, and then 5, and then none. So it really helps. And then it's like those games, I would buzz them if they make a filler word. So they know that, oh my gosh, I made a filler word. And a lot of people really emerge successfully with that.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about filler words is that oftentimes we don't even notice that we're saying them. They're almost subconscious. And
Yeah.
one thing that I learned early on in recording videos was that anytime I had to speak about something more abstract, I would freeze on camera. I would just not know what to say. But if you asked me a direct question that I understood the answer to, like
Yeah.
tell me how to set up a light, then I could
Exactly.
speak very clearly. So I guess, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was kind of doing what you were doing, and what you're teaching. You have to gather those thoughts first to really be articulate and clear. And maybe one day, if I'm brave enough, I will try the buzzer thing.
And that's the thing. I actually ask people, what don't you like to talk about? What is it you just really don't like to talk about? Tell me, and they'll tell me, and then I'll insert those topics inside of my little game, so they don't have a clue. I don't tell them beforehand what is behind the topic, and when they choose it or they select it, and my clients know what I'm talking about, and when they open that topic up, they suddenly have 2 minutes to quickly gather and arrange and talk about it. Because a lot of people I've discovered, they don't like to talk about themselves. They can talk about other things, but ask them to talk about themselves, and that represents the most uncomfortable conversation that you can have. If you overcome the most uncomfortable conversation that you can have, then you can handle anything else that comes at you.
I love it. I love it. So, for somebody who might be watching this video, and they're inspired by what you're saying. And maybe they're ready to create their first videos. But there's a part of them that's still feeling like, I know Daya told me to embrace my voice, but I really hate my voice. Like, what would you say to a person like that to get them started?
I would say, to be encouraged for one. And it's really just a matter of everybody is different, Emmy. The thing is that you would have five people saying, I don't like the sound of my voice. I really don't. I'm uncomfortable with it. But I would have five people that I can think about that would have said that to me during the course of time. But each of them is a different reason. And so people that are watching, you each have a different reason for saying, I don't like it. I want to explore what that reason is. And so what I would tell them is, let's explore why you don't like the sound of your voice. And then let's say someone says, because people have just always said I have a horrible voice. Who told you that? I don't know. And then you realize it's just two people in their life. Two people have always said you have a horrible voice. It's not like, oh, like I did I spoke to I posted a clip on LinkedIn recently with this. It was an interview I had with Alan Langer, and I was saying the people who have a problem with how they sound don't sound horribly at all. And the people who are real confident, they have like an awkward sounding tone. So they may go around like, "Hey, hi, Emmy, how are you? All right." I mean, it's just funny, but the reality is, those people who really are uncomfortable, I've spoken to them, and I sit down wondering what you don't like about your voice, and I'm talking about people who really sound great. I mean, no, you're not a broadcaster, and with training, you can, but most of these people, it really is a psychological block that something tells you my voice sounds horrible. That's the reality. That's like, I mean, I don't have statistics on that, but just from experience and talking with people who are so shy about their voice, they sound pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. This reminds me of something that I often say to my audience, that the things that you criticize yourself about on video, 99% of your viewers won't even notice those things.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so there really is this deeper reason as to why there's fear or shame or something that's really holding them back. So I love that response. I'm
Yeah.
curious about your program. Like, who's it for, and what does it mean by interactive? I'm very intrigued. Do you mind sharing a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I always think about attending training programs. I always thought about that. I mean, we've had that. You would attend either a company training program, and of course, before COVID, I would do this in person. And you attend a training session, and you have this deep sigh because for me, I don't know about your experience, but most people who come to an organization to train or train someone, they're kind of boring. It comes with a lot of information, and they're very bright and they know their stuff. And I have had so many of those. And I said to myself, my training is not going to be like that. Not to mention that I think I'm a little creative and I love things to be different. And the way people learn, there's this whole principle I understand about VARC. It's the VARC principle, how people learn. People are visual, they're auditory, they are, what is the other one? Can't remember what the R is, and kinesthetic. And so the reality is that I think it's something to do with feeling and touch, but it's all about that VARC principle and making sure that every learning style is put into my training. If I just talk to people, then there are a few who would like that, but then there's who are visuals. So I use images and videos as examples and audio samples. And I use all kinds of different things to stimulate people. And interaction. People love to give feedback. So it's not a lecture, it's not a course, it's coaching. So challenging someone, okay, you try it now, you do it now. And so my program has been designed to do that. And I have tried in a very short 4-week process, tried to also take my experience and put it in a neat package. Like what caused me to come to this point? Because I wasn't always confident. I was very shy. I started off doing sales as a teenager, and I was challenged by my then boss to really just step out of my shyness. And there was no training. I didn't attend a 5-week training program. I was just thrown out to do cold calling on the streets. And I would go there knocking from door to door, and I would say, hello, just would like to sell you something. And, no way you could get the attention of a decision maker talking like that. So I had to literally be challenged. And that was my training. I was just thrown out in the deep, and I had to learn how to develop confidence. And I recognized there was something about how I saw myself. And once I recognized, I saw the results when I changed, and I had to just pull from something. It's almost as if there was something just suppressed deep down. It was there, but it was just suppressed. And from the moment you dig deep and you pull up this confidence and you see the change on people's faces and you recognize, but wait a minute. Which is why I say it's nothing about your voice. People get fooled and say, oh, well, you have a deep voice, you could speak. But no, you can have a deep voice, but be very shy, and no one knows the impact of it. So it's really about learning how to use it. And that's what my program is, giving you these tools to really use your voice effectively, whether you're on camera, on video, and what you're doing, modulation, raising and lowering your voice, and giving people techniques about trying to read with expression and with color. All of that is so important to make sure that your voice comes alive.
Absolutely. I love this. I think I need to have you back for part 2 someday about
It's not a
modulation,
problem.
reading from a teleprompter, because that's exactly it, right? You don't want to sound like you're reading, you want to sound like
Correct. That's right. Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, most of all of my videos that I put on LinkedIn, I have a company that does it, and it's a teleprompter. So I'm actually reading a script when I do it.
Oh wow. I
Yeah.
never knew that. So see folks, that's a testament to how good he is. So if people want to find out more about you and your program, where can they go?
DayaOttley.com. That's my website, and all my social media handles are right there. So that's the best place to go right to my LinkedIn page or my YouTube channel and so on. So yeah, check out DayaOttley.com.
Wonderful. And we'll be sure to include that in the description as well. Thank you so much, Daya, for being here. This was super fun and super valuable. And let's definitely connect for part 2.
Oh, that will be awesome, Emmy, and thank you very much for having me.